it's one of those things where I was saying that quote I mentioned, Rex, like being a business owner and entrepreneur, that the best thing is you see opportunity in everything, but it's the worst thing you see opportunity in everything because you can't say no sometimes. So it's one of those things where not running before you can walk, but definitely in the future, there's different avenues that I can aid the growth of my own business by looking at different avenues as well.
Testing. Right, we've got Matt on today from McCann Wealth Management, and we're going to be talking about kind of peaks and troughs, managing cash flow, but also growing his business via acquisition. I think Matt is part of a kind of a franchise system or whatever, which you'll learn about, but we're going to really dial into how maybe he can grow his business so that he can get another source of funding via acquisitions and really kind of get to those hidden goals that he so desires. We're here today with Matthew McCann from McCann Wealth Management, and we're going to be talking about his kind of business and the goals and kind of where he wants to go with things over the next kind of 1 to 10 years, really, and see what kind of hurdles he's got. So before we begin, Matt, one thing I always like to ask everybody is, what was young Matt like, or Matthew, whatever you want to call yourself?
Matt to normal people, but Matthew to my mum.
When you've been in
trouble, what was I like? Struggled at school. Struggled massive at school, dyslexic, but was quite good at sports. So educationally wise and academically wise, struggled, but kind of excelled in the sports field. So ditched all kind of learning in school and just focused on sport. Had no intention of going into financial services sort of 25 years later, but here we are. Struggled at school, good at sport. Really.
Yeah. Did you find that they were quite supportive at school of the dyslexia, or was that kind of, I don't know what era you grew up, but when I'm probably a little bit older than you, but I've got dyslexia, and it was very kind of like, you just can't learn. They did try a bit, but it wasn't really recognised.
Yeah, no, I struggled. They supported it when they found out. I got diagnosed when I was probably 12, 13. So probably maybe a little bit later than other people.
Yeah.
I remember having to do like 10 GCSEs or 11 GCSEs, and that went down to like 8 straight away. Dropped all my languages and just focused on English. So I was supportive, but I think because I got diagnosed later, it was very much a case of I can't learn, struggle with learning. Matt doesn't listen. Matt doesn't want to listen. He just wants to play sport. So in terms of supportiveness, I was supported, but I probably had the mindset of been helped before, so what's the point now, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's funny, those who watch the videos, like historically, the back catalogue, if you like, will notice there's like quite a common theme, I think, with dyslexia. It's like quite a lot of people have it nowadays, and I think it is much more recognised like as a kind of like a superpower, if you like, because it allows a lot of people to like hyper-focus on things, like where they talk a lot about like the spectrum of whatever, that's kind of such a loose terminology, but a lot of people are like, I can't do like dyslexia, like the letters are jumbled up and whatever, the kind of normal traits of dyslexia, but it allows them to like hyper-focus on like numbers or like problem solving or something like that. Like I say a lot, like a lot of the people who are really successful in life have got dyslexia because it allows them to like hyper-focus on things.
Absolutely.
And there's a really good book where they talk, I can't remember what it's called, we'll put the link in the description, but it's about literally how dyslexia is like a superpower, and it's like a trait of like being really good at stuff. But obviously you have this like kind of a kryptonite, if you like.
Absolutely. It does make you think in different ways outside the box. I think nowadays, as you say, it's more people have it, and you say more probably successful entrepreneurs and business owners might have it because they think differently and they go against the norm. So, and there's ways to help you nowadays with dyslexia, and there's so many things that can aid it. So, I see it as a plus as well.
Massively, yeah. Like I was useless at grammar and stuff, and I remember I had to go back to do my GCSEs again before I could go to uni, and I wanted to go to uni really badly because I wanted to have a degree just so I could like tick a box myself rather than actually really utilise it. I mean, I did business studies and management and media, so I kind of probably do use it a little bit. But property wasn't what I didn't do it. I went on to do a chartered surveyor thing later, but it's funny that kind of journey, really, isn't it? Through and I remember the teacher told me I should read this book called Eat, Shoots and Leaves, and it was all about grammar, because you could the sentence "eat, shoots and leaves" and it had like a panda with a gun on the front of it or something, but then it had on the back it was a panda eating a shoot and a leave. and that, like, for me, I was like, that really resonated, but like it's so hard. Like even now, like I read over words all the time and put like the wrong from and for. I get wrong all the time.
Where, and then just a bit of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So tell us a bit about the business then before we go into your form.
So Matron Wealth Manager, we're wealth managers, but basically in a nutshell, it's like financial planning and holistic financial planning. So we started in January 2024, so a fairly new business. And what we specialise in is helping someone, as an example, around the whole oversight and view of their financial circumstances. So from protection planning, investment planning, retirement planning, all the way through to kind of estate planning, inheritance tax planning, all the stuff which can get you a bit confused and a lot of jargon out there. We just make sure someone or a family, business, whoever it might be, is as tax efficient as possible and making sure that they're in the best position for their long-term goals. Yeah, essentially.
Okay. So what distinguishes you from, I mean, obviously there's a lot of financial planners and the rest of it, and I know of late, like some of the big boys have come under a bit of fire and stuff like that. So like what kind of, why should people go to you over anybody else, really, I suppose?
I think, well, a number of things. I think I haven't always been in financial services, so I've had a couple of different careers, which I think separates me from, like you say, maybe going the conventional way of going to college, then going to university, then going straight to financial services. I think I probably had a little bit more life experience in different businesses that I've worked in before that have enabled me to kind of be where I am. But also, I think long term as well, knowing I'm going to be in this industry for 20, 30 years, the transition from intergenerational wealth at the moment from grandparents, great-grandparents, all the way down is huge. There's something like 3 or 4 trillion that's going to get passed in the next 20, 30 years. Yeah. And as we know, inheritance tax rates, tax in general is going up, potentially with the new budget coming out in the autumn. So there's lots of planning to be done. So I can work with parents, grandparents who are looking to potentially pass their estate down to people my age, younger, and help them over the next 20, 30 years rather than having different advisors year in, year out.
Okay. So am I right? So McCann Wealth Management is your business, and then it's backed up by SJP?
Yeah, so Matron Wealth Management, or Mackin, so no, honestly, so I read it as, my name's Matron, but
Matron.
No, honestly, it's,
I'm terrible.
No, that's the dyslexic, isn't it?
It's because when you read it, it's got a lot of N's in it, and then it's Matthew
so
as well.
Honestly, I call myself Mackin on the phone and to people because if you spell Matron, they'll spell it differently. So I always say Mackin. So I'm either or. But so my business is, I run my business as I want to and as I see fit to, except I'm basically backed by St James's Place. So people that probably may or may not know, St James's Place is the largest wealth management group in the UK, around 180 billion of assets under management. And what they do is they have businesses essentially use their products and services, but then being the largest, they have scope. The amount we can use and providers we use is huge. And one of the reasons why I wanted to align with their business and their investment proposition was because of the additional support that I get, the compliance side of things, the risk assurance, which if you start on your own, can be quite daunting.
Yeah, it's kind of, want for a better word, like a slight franchise system, isn't it, really? Yeah. Although you locally trade as your own kind of business, but it's kind of with the guys and the backing of SJP, really, isn't it?
Pretty much, and that's what I quite like. So I can run my business wherever I want to, can grow as big as I want, as small as I want. It's just I've got the backing of them to do that, and the hoops you have to jump through to be a client. It's a lot. So it's I like what they offer.
Yeah. So we'll move on to your kind of I suppose like plans and goals and things. We asked you the question, what do you do with your day to day in the business? You've got at the moment you're looking to grow quickly without losing your values, core values. Understanding circumstances and paramount in building trust and long-term relationships. Each client is unique and everyone's circumstances are different. You don't want to lose that. Day-to-day with movement is driving to new businesses, driving new business into the business and working with existing clients. Roughly at the moment, you spend about half a day driving new business and then seeing existing customers. Do you think you built a job or a business, currently a job, and then you want to turn it into a business, which is always good? What are your goals for the next year? So to have more brand awareness in the Mid-Sussex area and in general, and to acquire part of an existing business to aid our growth. I think with the stuff, with the core values that you refer to, that's really hard as you grow. And we talk quite a lot about that to the people who come on the podcast. It's really hard if you grow really rapidly, and especially if you acquire businesses. So like sorting them out at an early stage is like really, really key. Like we made that mistake here. We kind of, me and some of the key members of the team, we knew what our core values were, but they weren't kind of written down anywhere or anything. And you'll see even on the wall here and all our offices, they're like plastered everywhere. We give rewards now for people that kind of tick the core values or do something that's in line. Their colleagues can recommend them and stuff. So we've really tried to drive that, because we recognised that it wasn't really something that was kind of in our heads, but not there. And what we try now to do as best we can is to promote people from within the business rather than injecting people kind of halfway up the hierarchical structure. So that's just something like that I've really learned from, to be honest. And I think now at your stage, it's the best, even though sometimes it feels like you're too small to do it, but I don't think there really is a size, because then it kind of sticks with you forever.
Absolutely.
There's a book called Delivering Happiness, which was, I don't know if you've read that one.
No, I haven't yet.
It's an audio book, 100%. I don't read any books. Ran after mine. So an audio book called Delivering Happiness. It's about a company called Zappos, which was basically like Shoe in the UK, and how they grew their business. It was a venture capitalist, but they ended up investing almost all their money into this one firm, and they grew it, but they kept all their kind of core values as the business grew. And the whole book is really about kind of core values and delivering happiness through the workplace. But it's a really interesting read. So that inspired me to like kind of sort our stuff out a bit more formally, if you like. So definitely a good read. But in terms of kind of increasing brand awareness and possibly acquiring other businesses, what's the sort of strategy there?
So I suppose the beauty of St James's Place being so big, I knew when I was going to launch my business, I'd be servicing or looking after a number of clients from a partner that's going to retire in a few years. So that process kind of already started as I was starting. And it kind of so happened that it was going to be East Sussex, geographically where I am. And at the same time, then I got the networking room with BNI, etc. So for me, brand awareness and growing businesses, I already know these clients are 95% going to come on board with me in 2 years' time. But for me, it's very much networking, face-to-face interactions as opposed to online at the moment. And I feel, although the social media presence is big and it will be bigger moving forward, for what I do, you want that trusty relationship where you've spoken to someone, you know them. And from there, that's where the referrals come from me. I very rarely at the moment get people call me up saying, oh, can we have a meeting? It's more, oh, you've worked with so-and-so.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I have a chat? And I think what I do is very personal to people in terms of, I have to ask quite a lot of information, which they might not want to give. And even clients that, I've seen for a while now, they don't tell me everything until you fully get to know them. So for me, it's growing in the East Sussex region and bringing that into Mid Sussex. As an example, I'll be honest with you, I've kind of, in a way, copied a little bit what you've done, Eastbourne, New Haven, and then into Hove. I just think there's no point doing 100 things at once. So Eastbourne, and then, because I already have clients in these existing areas, it's more face-to-face in networking rooms, meeting professional connections, almost coming along the coast.
And what do you do at the moment to like create your kind of, I suppose, personal brand, or you as a person? What do you do outside of kind of the immediate networking? Do you have like a kind of Instagram or a social page or something people can follow you as a brand, if you like?
Yeah, so Matron Wealth Management on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. For me, the social media side of things is important, but it just backs up someone's maybe interaction with me face to face.
Yeah.
So they've met me maybe at a networking event or had a conversation with them, and then they've come to find me online, and there is a presence.
Yeah.
Although it's not necessarily they're going to see me one click and
Yeah.
book a meeting. It's just that brand awareness, and
I think it's important because there are different types of customer, if you like. There are the ones that are actively looking for a pension provider and assistance with their finances, and there are the ones that will need it eventually. And I can't remember what the terminology is, but there are two different types of customer. They're the ones that are kind of, I will probably need you in the future, but I don't need you right now. And they're the ones that need you right now. And there are different types of marketing to those two customers. One, the latter, the person that's like, I probably should do something about my pensions, but I can't be bothered, or my finances or whatever. They are the ones that you target, and they're basically, it's just a kind of short form content where, you know, they might remember you when they need you, when they turn into that customer that needs you there, and then that customer that needs you, they probably need a bit more quality, and it's almost reassurance. So,
and also it's different stages of life. I mean, I don't have a set age range which I work with. So you could have someone who's 75, 80, wanted to work with you and they want face-to-face advice and use social media. But then the 25-year-old who's just starting their career might want me in 15, 20 years, but they've built that trust from online reputation. So it really depends, doesn't it, I think?
It's exactly that. I mean, I own half of a chartered accountant with another lady, and she does all the social media stuff, and our target is exactly like that. It's like people that might need an accountant at some point. So they're like short, snappy, like, can I claim for a pair of socks on my tax deductible allowance? You know, they're kind of 30-second videos, as opposed to the more longer ones that are like, how is the budget going to affect me? And she might do a bit more as a detailed one. And that's two different types of customer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's that, I'm really interested in it. It's that, I think it's the Google How to Build Trust with Someone. They've done a whole study on it, where it's like the 11-7 rule marketing. So it's like 11 hours of content, either you or your business, over 7 touch points in 4 locations to build like absolute trust. And actually, you think about that per one customer, that's a lot of time they've actually spent getting to know you. So
it is,
it's just interesting how many locations and things can you pop up and someone, I recognise him or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and you can reach quite a wide audience with the social media stuff nowadays. So I think it's important to work on that. The acquisition thing, we'll come back to in a bit because I have a question on that. But we'll move on to kind of 3 to 5 year goals. To have a team of advisors working for the business, growing to that, to become one of the leading wealth management companies in Sussex and the South East. And then more longer term goals, you've got to have McCann Wealth Management as a leading wealth management firm in Sussex, operating with a couple of other businesses which will aid wealth management. And then kind of the goals, the hurdles that are going to stop you is the classic cash flow. is always the biggest challenge, and not scaling too quickly, running before you can walk. One question before we get going on that. With the acquisitions, I had a pension provider who was under SJP, but they were bought out by a bigger firm in Surrey, I think. And SJP offer like a system where they will help fund acquisitions, or like buying the book of clients or something, don't they? I think they assist you with that process.
Yeah, so in the first few years, they assist you with that process, and then from there it's more external funding. That's normally 3, 5, 8 years in. Even this is 15, 20 years in. It's more when you've got a track record. But the first couple of years, they make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, your cash flow, servicing clients, all the infrastructure is in place before they even look to even start that funding. But
and that's with SJP. They'll do all of that, and then they'll say if you're a good, almost acting like a bank, if you've got good cash flow, profit and loss.
Cash flow, back of house, all the stuff where, at the moment I'm the only advisor of the business. So, have you got someone power planning doing your reports? Have you got someone looking at your meetings? Can you even drive a new business? All that stuff comes into it. It's not, you're doing all right, here's some money. It's more like, have you got all your I's dotted, T's crossed? Do you think you'll be a sustainable business in the next 5 years' time? Great, then we'll back you.
And presumably they don't prevent you from funding an acquisition yourself if it was saying outside. So if there was someone completely independent, not backed by SJP, they had a book of 50 clients and they want, I don't know, 250 grand for it or something like that. Then if you could raise that money or funding, you can then go.
I think it'd be hard if it wasn't outside SJP, but if it was inside, you didn't want to get the funding. Let's just say you sold your home, like, I'm 250 grand. You could do that quite easily.
Yeah. But you say it's outside, but you could like bring it in, couldn't you?
Yeah, you'd have to transfer it, I presume. But I just imagine people have done that before.
So that would be quite a useful way. So
Food for thought.
Definitely. So I just wanted to interrupt quickly here. I hope you're really enjoying the podcast guest today, but did you know that you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, various other sites like that, and you can also listen to us on all major streaming services as well. You may already be listening through one of those things, but look at the other avenues that you can do us. You can see us in physical form if you're listening in audio, or if you want to just listen as you're driving along in the car, you can go to things like Spotify or Apple Podcasts and listen to us there. So please don't forget to check those out. Please always like and subscribe to all the channels, share them about and the rest of it, and that will help grow the audience. And then eventually we'll have a massive amount of people that are always really going to get involved, and it's a nice big entrepreneurial hub. So if you want to contribute to that, head on over to those other channels, press the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Right, we'll get back to our guest now. Yeah, so I think with the acquisitions, like it's interesting that they'll fund that, but I suppose you've got to get to that certain size, and it's that kind of step to do that. It strikes me that there would be quite a lot of independent people that would be worth targeting. I've come across a lot of I won't say one-man banks, that sounds like it's really small, but owner-run businesses where maybe they've got a secretary or an admin assistant. So there's only one or two of them maybe. My pension provider previously was like that. I mean, they had a few members of staff, so they're probably a little bit bigger than that, to be fair to them. But they're the kind of company that you could buy their book off of them. And I think we were talking about it in the break that we had, but funding acquisitions doesn't always necessarily have to mean you've got to remortgage your house and sell your first born child in order to buy them. You can think of lots of creative ways. We've bought businesses for nothing. We've just offered the owner a job and just said, you can come and work for us and we'll take your book on. And the book probably, the book of properties, if you like, didn't even fund the wage that we're giving them, but because we can then economies of scales. And bigger businesses, paying half up front and half later and trying not to part with all your money or less of it, or asking them for some remuneration. So you can say, we'll give you 70% of the net profit for the next 2 years and a small salary for working part-time in a business. So for 2 years, you don't make any money unless you grow it. If you grow it, they benefit. So they might be this is brilliant. I don't win-win for me, but you're in 2 years' time, they're gone and you've got that book and you haven't really paid for it, to be honest.
There's loads of ways, isn't there? Especially the economy and people wanting to get out, or their exit plans might have changed recently. So like you're saying, it's definitely creative ways to do things.
Definitely. And I think now's a good time, because I think there's definitely a case for, I wouldn't say this is a niche market, but as the growth of easier self-invested pensions because of online nature and the rest of it, the kind of niche or bespoke market where you'd have an advisor do it for you might get a bit smaller. So Joe, who set up, or Dave or whoever, who set up on their own in the 90s, and is now can't compete because people are saying, I want to be able to log in and have a look at my portfolio, and they haven't got those systems in place. They're the people that you would target. I don't know, kind of how you, whether you look around or do anything like that at all.
Yeah, I always look around and see what the next opportunity could be, where you can grow your business organically, paid growth, things like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I was saying that quote I mentioned, Rex, being a business owner and entrepreneur, that the best thing is you see opportunity in everything, but it's the worst thing you see opportunity in everything. You can't say no sometimes. So it's one of those things where not running before you can walk, but definitely in the future, there's different avenues that I can aid the growth of my own business by looking at different avenues as well.
Yeah. I think acquisition is is a good way of growing. Organic is good, but if you want to grow fairly quickly, acquisition is a good way of doing that. But I would be spending some of your time where you're working on the business, maybe just looking on Companies House, the internet, and singling out those kind of demographics of people. Like for me, like we're looking to probably buy some more letting agents or acquire them at some point. So I'm looking for people that are in their kind of 60s, maybe mid 60s, businesses that have got like sub 2 members of staff, 3, or like there's the owner and 2 people. They've only got 1 branch, that kind of thing, because they're the people that are a bit burnt out and they're like, do you know what, I can't be bothered with salaries, I'm struggling to make them, and then they want a bonus at Christmas and it's all doing my head in, and there's legislation and so on, and I just want to get out of the market because I want to pay my mortgage off and sit on a beach somewhere. But they might not be quite ready to retire if they're 60. So they're the kind of people that you might put some feelers out to. And kind of just sow your seeds a little bit and help them and pop into them and the rest of it. And sometimes they'll bleed you for information, and then they'll go, oh, that's a brilliant way of like cheaply doing something, and then abuse it a bit. But you kind of have to just put up with that a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's definitely ways to do it. And things have changed from 20 years ago. So there's about being creative and works both ways, isn't it? You win sometimes. Yeah,
and I think if you capture that market of like, I know people can do their own online SIPs and pensions and the rest of it and manage it through, I won't mention the name, but a big V competitor. And it's about being like, you can go to Tesco's, but we're like Apple.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference in the style of product. If you're looking for a Tesco's product, then by means go to do that, because that's generic and it is cost effective, but you don't get that level of service. And I think the pensions market, probably in my thing, will get more smaller. Like you'll end up with like your independents and then your big boys, but there won't be so many independents.
I think now in the market, a lot of smaller independents are getting bought out by large companies because the compliance, the risk side of things have completely changed. So that is another thing. But it's like you say, you can do it online yourself, but legislation changes every essentially 6 to 12 months. It's just keeping on top of that. If you're busy, sometimes you don't have time for that. So you do want to pay someone essentially to do it for you, take that stress off your plate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the ever-changing landscape is what puts a lot of business owners off. But if it was easy, anybody would do it. Was my mantra. Because I know you've got on one of your challenges is the constant changing of the landscape and the rest of it. And I do think that is a brilliant way of like building your business like a moat or a force field around it, because people can't comply with that. They can no longer really trade efficiently. Whereas if you can do that and you go, I've got good systems in place, it kind of sort of builds a bit of a moat around your castle, your fortress, essentially, isn't it? So,
on top of things.
Yeah.
It does change.
It does, yeah. And then the other thing you got is obviously burnout and work-life balance and the rest of it, which is inherently difficult when you're trying to grow a business and so on. I would say as you grow, really, you got to just keep an eye on it and make sure that you're kind of not kind of so distant and lost in everything. But as long as you sit with your other half and just say like, this is the plan, and it is going to involve me doing a few late nights or like meetings with business owners that are outside of office hours because they don't want me sat in their office talking to them about a potential sale. Then and as long as you kind of make sure that maybe at the weekends or the evenings, or you might take the odd morning off or something like that to get that work-life balance. I've always tried to be available for, the Christmas play and the sports day and the rest. Doesn't always pan out, but I remember my parents actually worked fairly kind of 9 to 5 jobs, and they were available in the evenings, but during the day, I don't recall any of them coming to sports day. So, it's that kind of balance, isn't it? Like I might be not at the dinner table, but at least I came to sports day.
And it is tough. Like you say, when you grow a business, like you say, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. It's not. You've got to put some sacrifices in, and it's that family work-life balance is key for me, but you're not going to have one without the other. I want standard of living for my family, them to be, okay in life. It's just, that's going to take time to put money.
It's the balance, isn't it? And with young kids, it's very difficult. They grow up very fast and so on. But providing them a nice lifestyle, but not being there is that balance, isn't it? Really? So in terms of acquisitions and things like that, I think that's a really good way to grow. Organically is good, but it is a lot of effort. I tried that at the start, like everybody does. I think we were talking about it in the break, and for the first 3 years of me leaving my old partnership job, I kind of just treated it as a lifestyle business. I gather up clients and the rest of it. And it was kind of hyper focused on an area where we were. And it was only really when I started kind of putting my effort into it and thinking about acquisitions and things. And the first few, I didn't pay anything for. I cut the owner in on a deal or something, gave them a certain percentage of what we were going to bring in. So we didn't make any money for probably 12 to 18 months. But at the end of it, you haven't had to then go and kind of sell your firstborn child in order to fund it. As the deals get bigger, you tend to have to put some skin in the game, but you can often get funding from banks and things like that. They're fairly risk adverse. They don't like to kind of entirely fund things. They'll probably pay half towards stuff. I mean, we've just literally last week completed an acquisition of a letting agent in Eastbourne. They funded 50% of that. And it was 50% year one and then 50% year two, adjusted for anything that we lost.
Sure.
So the banks funded the first bit, which will pay out the profits. The second bit we may have to fund ourselves, but the second bit will likely be slightly reduced because there's some natural. But so the second 50% might actually end up being 40 or 45%.
Yeah.
And then we should be able to fund that from the existing operations profits. So then in a year's time, we've paid for that business and then it's just amalgamated in. So a year turnaround.
Scale and things like that. It's brilliant, isn't it?
The key is to make sure that the integration, because that's the thing that you're in control of. Mm-hmm. Making sure that those staff come over and they're happy and the clients stay and the rest of it. Hence why you protect yourself by saying the second 50% is adjusted for any losses.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why your industry is any different, really. If you buy somewhere, you get that natural, I never really liked them that much, but now they've also changed. I'll probably go somewhere else. Or people that say, I'll stay for a year and see how it goes, see how they perform. Yeah. Of course, the performance, as anybody that knows the suspensions, is not truly in your hands, obviously.
Past performances in the future indications.
Yeah, indeed. And we don't do financial advice on the channel.
Exactly.
But you can't predict what's going to happen. And it is about being in the market long term. I'm a big advocate of that. So I think those are kind of my sort of key tips, I would say. Definitely look at the acquisition stuff, spend time looking at those kind of people that are outside. Then you'll be able to grow to that size that SJP will probably want to start funding stuff for you or assisting with you, I'd say. Brian Bedford Wealth Management was the company that I had, and they were bought out by I can't remember, some big Surrey firm or something like that. He never grew his business to a size where they would entertain funding it, essentially. But I think he probably could have, but age and wants in life and stuff.
Changes,
definitely. So I hope that's been really useful.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions? I know you were quizzing me a bit on my journey.
Yeah, no, it was just what I do. I like picking people's brains that have done it, got approved for it, and you certainly have. So it's more a case of the acquisition side of things. Obviously, Specialised Property Group, Stroud Cox, we have other businesses. Might not necessarily be. You might have expertise in those businesses. Yeah. But then how did you, one, I guess, acquire them, but be able to provide value for some. Do you know what I mean? Because I might be a little bit specialist.
Yeah. So I suppose everything we do here, or everything that I do and keep my eye on, is integrated in some way or another into the existing operations of the business. So, for example, we have a property company, for those who don't know, primarily does with block management, blocks of flats, but we do lettings, surveying, we do planning, we've got lots of other bits. We buy property, do it up, that kind of stuff. So they're all amalgamated under the kind of property umbrella. But those companies need like administration and the ability to expand and contract. Sometimes like the surveying department is like feast or famine half the time. Like it's making a massive profit one month and then making a loss the next. So the ability to outsource some services is brilliant. So we also own an outsourcing company. So we bought into that, and they do bookkeeping, general administration. They can answer our telephones for us, all that kind of stuff when we get busy. So for me, it's like, it's not a property company, but it's actually a kind of industry that I understand, and also services the existing business. So it's like vertically integrated. Same with the accountancy business that we own. Obviously, we do an awful lot of funding, raising money, and dealing with bits and bobs like that, and cash flow, and looking at EBITDA figures and all the rest of it. So to have an in-house chartered accountant, although she's my business partner, it's like kind of in-house, is really valuable to us, and it's something that we spent a long time trying to move to. So that opportunity presented itself. So Sharon was made redundant. Her business that she worked at was taken over by a big firm, and then they went on this kind of spree of like making everything economical, as you do when you acquire businesses, and that resulted in her being made redundant. So I was just at the right time and right place at the right moment, and had a chat with her, and she wanted to kind of set up on her own, but she wanted the support, not a lot different to like a much smaller version of what you're doing. So she has the backing of me helping her and understanding and making decisions, someone to talk to, but she is the one running the business, qualified for it. And obviously there was funding required to start and get it up off the ground. So things like that. But it's hard as you go by, because obviously, they feel like, oh, they've put a lot of effort in and you're not doing so much and so on. So it's key to try and make sure that balance is equal as you can. But ultimately, they are investments for me. I could lose all that money. Their startups are inherently dodgy. So, those who risk it, stand to be rewarded or maybe lose it all. But ultimately, they're all kind of integrated. Even the maintenance business we got, so we do like handyman maintenance, fire alarm testing, all that kind of stuff. But again, it services existing things. So Raf, who works for us, is currently refurbishing a branch in Eastbourne that we've got, ready to get that open. He did the stuff here. Stuart comes and does the fire extinguishers and alarm system and stuff for us. So it's like kind of integrated into
across a number of businesses.
Our existing operation. And I think that's important. So if you were to expand outside of pensions, you might be like, well, we'll do mortgages, for example, or some other financial services, maybe like tax advice or something like that, if you're obviously got to be qualified. But they're kind of all in that kind of like life strategy, pensioning, solicitors.
One you need one without the other. So.
Like you'll have your power team, I presume. Like you'll have probably someone that you refer mortgages to. You'll have somebody that you might refer accountancy to, that kind of stuff. But those sort of things are all inherently born of the same sort of business, aren't they? The person that comes to you and says, I want to be more tax efficient and manage my pension in a different way, probably also needs the tax advice, also might need to remortgage their house or clear off some debt. They're kind of all similar, aren't they?
All things,
I wouldn't go and buy a kebab shop, for instance, or a clothes shop, because I have no idea about any of that. I know they taste nice, but especially after a few beers, but it would have to integrate into the existing thing.
It's good. Good to pick your brains.
No, it's so good. It's nice to say that stuff, because sometimes you have to remind yourself why you do these things as well. So brilliant. So how do people get hold of you, and where can they find you and all that kind of stuff?
So website, mationwealthmanagement.co.uk. And then that's the same handle for LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, on the website and all those social media channels. It's my name, number, contact details. So through there. As I mentioned earlier, looking to grow in the next year, 2 years. So hopefully we pop up more.
And you do free consultation for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll speak to people completely free of charge. Initially, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, brilliant. Well, anybody that's after pension advice or assistance with it, or transferring over or whatever, give Matt a shout. I'm sure he can help you with that. He's come into our workplace and spoken to some of our staff here as well, so he can do all of that. And hopefully we'll meet up maybe in a year or two's time and see if you've managed to do it.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Take care. So I hope that was really useful for everybody. You can see there with Matt, he's got his kind of hidden goals, and it's really important, I think, for people who are part franchises to actually remember that they can still expand their business through acquisitions and the rest of it, subject to their franchise agreements. And they're a really, really powerful way of growing your business. And funding it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you put the family jewels online. Really, you can have to think about things creatively and see if you can fund them that way. So if you like the show and you've learned something from this, don't forget to comment below. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. That will really help the channel grow and other people see the videos and the rest of it. And we've got a plethora of other videos, not just podcasts, for you to enjoy. And finally, just a little message. If anybody wants to come on the podcast, have a little friendly chat with us about all of their business goals and the rest of it, then please just go to our website, matthewcox.biz, apply online there, and you'll get on the show. See you in the next one.